talking about lithium and cobalt in terms of the electric cars and things. But for my mind, that's speculation, which I don't see here that we're coming together to sort of speculate and looking to double our money. It's about preservation of wealth and a portfolio diversifier. So you can argue the merits, but if somebody was talking to me about lithium or cobalt or cryptocurrencies, I think there's a much bigger element of speculation, and it kind of counterintuitive to what we're talking about here.
Right, do we have any other questions for around the tables?
Sorry, in terms of physical gold. Thank you. In terms of purchasing physical gold from any designated jurisdiction, wouldn't there be tax implications then if we chose one jurisdiction over another for our clients?
Can I just broaden that question? Yeah, because when in the transparent world in which we live, and ultimately we assume we're all doing the right thing for our clients, does gold still have a perception that people are buying it to avoid paying tax, or is that not necessarily the correct way of thinking about it? That was my add-on question.
I think on the first point, yes. I mean, there will be different taxes from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. I mean, if I take somewhere like Singapore, there's a goods and service tax there. Singapore has, is trying to establish itself as, the bullion hub in the Southeast Asia region. In 2012, they removed the GST on what we call investment precious metals, which effectively comes down to anything that is LBMA, and the LBMA is the accreditation within the industry, so the London Bullion Market Association. So if a refinery is LBMA accredited, then its bars are considered investment precious metal, and it's not subject to GST. So, that's something that's transformed Singapore as a hub. You've seen now that you've got an LBMA refinery in Singapore, you've got the big logistics companies, you've got the Freeport storage, you've got the banks, you've got the traders, you've got, the retail market there. And it's an area that, Singapore's done, the government's done a great job. I think here in Hong Kong, there's not restrictions in terms of bringing, gold into Hong Kong. So I think if you look at the leading centres where you'd want to store, bullion, I think to the best of my knowledge, most of those, there aren't tax implications from holding the bullion there.
But then in that respect, wouldn't you suggest hedging your risk by spreading the locations, the amount? Wouldn't you suggest then hedging your risk by spreading the amount of gold you buy within different jurisdictions so that you can kind of hedge that against the taxes that would technically be chargeable in different jurisdictions?
I think it's a reasonable point. I mean, I don't see people come in with concerns that suddenly taxes would be hit. What we've actually seen, though, is a growing trend whereby people are looking to move physical assets away from the Western world. So we see a lot of, I say a lot of people, we see people that may traditionally have, bullion or held in vaults in Zurich, and they now want to move parts of those amounts into someone like Singapore. And the beauty is that you can do what we call a location swap. So it's not necessarily whereby you have to liquidate your holdings in one place and then go and re-enter in another location. But I think, as I say, it tends to be what we're seeing is people with wanting to move money out of the financial system, wanting to move money out of the US or Europe, and it was like the saying before with the ETFs and things, your gold is still sitting in vaults in London and layers of, financial institutions and other controls on there. So I would say I don't really see anybody that has that explicit concern on the tax side of things, but it's more that they want to move the jurisdiction just again as a diversifier.
Right, Michael, you're fiddling with your phone, so I feel like I need to ask